Hi, welcome back to another video in the AI Shorts video series. As you know by now, this video series is focused on using AI technologies in ways to delve into new educational possibilities with our students, our classes, our professional lives, and so forth. So today I want to use ChatGPT here, talk about some tips to really consider how should we engage our students in conversation about this very technology. I think a lot of us are concerned. We feel like this technology could be abused. It could be used in ways maybe that really gets in the way of the learning process. And in a lot of other cases like ChatGPT and AI, we realize that sort of the outside world is doing its thing and we're a part of that. We don't exist in a vacuum. We might like to think, I remember that in the days teaching before we had the internet, we didn't deal with plagiarism online with cutting and pasting and Wikipedia uses. We dealt with it where students would take a book or a newspaper article and use that to plagiarize. So it took a little more effort, but there was still something going on. So as the technology evolves, our concerns increase. There's definitely a relationship between this technology and the types of teaching that we do in the classroom and how we deal with issues as they arise. So I really want to use this opportunity today to have a conversation, to talk about some tips as far as how you might bring this up in your class to really critically consider AI and its use and how it could positively and negatively impact your students. So we're going to jump onto ChatGPT here and we'll go through some suggestions. All right, so inevitably, I think, one of the things that's been coming up over the last couple months really has been this issue of how do we get our students to understand the value of ChatGPT and generative AI, including image AI and video software out there now, but in such a way that they're not using it to do something that stunts their education. And I say the same for myself and others. Like, I will use ChatGPT to help me kickstart a memo or maybe parts of a letter of recommendation, but I'm never going to get to a point where I use it for the whole thing. I'm going back and editing it. So it might just be like an initial spark. If I'm stuck on a class lesson on cultural appropriation, I can pop something in the ChatGPT and say, hey, where can I take this? What's the possible use of this topic? So it's kind of like a starting place is what I try to tell my students. And I also recommend to all of you. So I'm actually in this video just going to refer you to my really long post I did some time ago. And that post was from April 11th. You can find this on the LTCCteachingandlearning.com website. And it's called, Was It Written by a Bot? Indeed, it has an AI-generated bot image. And I take you through this really good discussion of academic dishonesty and how to check for it in various ways. So you can actually look at the different recommendations I've given you here. You can look at all these tools. So I really encourage you to kind of start with this post first because it lays out all the context. Now, a second place we can go just to get you thinking about this is you're going to just log on to Canvas, our LMS, of course, and every one of your classes, not through discussions, but via the assignments in your class, already has access to this. You don't have to do anything new. Now, I'm going to show you this from the perspective of a sandbox, which is right here. And what I recommend is if you're doing like discussion posts and trying to check those, you're going to have to paste that into like a dummy assignment. So what I've done is in one of my sandboxes, so not a current class, I just have this dummy assignment right here. And all I have to do is put in the assignment here. And all I have to do is I just am going to go to student view because once you create that dummy assignment, and by the way, when you do that, just make sure that the parameter for Turnitin is checked here. So if you click none, it won't check it. Make sure Turnitin is enabled. You're not going to really need this here because this is just a dummy assignment and it's not a live class. Once you do that, to do the checking of the text, and I'm trying to see here, let me just pull something I already have. That's just some dummy text I was using earlier for another one of these videos. Going to click on Student View. Click on Student View. And then you're going to submit to the assignment. And actually, this is one I'll just leave this in here. This is one I tried for a current class. And I found that the student probably was using AI. And I say probably because a lot of this is harder to detect than our old Turnitin kind of submissions that we were checking that were typically, say, plagiarized from Wikipedia or something of that nature. So what you're actually going to do next is you're going to leave student view. So again, this is a little bit involving multiple steps because you have to be logged in then back as an instructor to look at whether or not AI content is detected. So what you'll do is click on the speed grader is one place you can do this at. And then this shows you the assignment. You'll first see it and say, oh, it's not plagiarized, 0%. You actually, to do the AI check, have to click on it. So this is not actually done. You have to click one more step, 0%, and this is where it tells you the likelihood of AI content having been written. And you'll see it says 100% chance. Now, if you're wondering, with the old Turnitin that was checking for Wikipedia and internet plagiarism, it would show you links on the page and say, this is likely plagiarized, this isn't, and so forth. In this case, it doesn't do that. It's just showing the percentage. And if I click on it, nothing actually happens. So you have to kind of take that, I would say almost with a grain of salt, because you want to use your professional expertise, go in and really check stuff out. So that kind of shows you what happens via Turnitin. Again, that's totally free for you to use. Now, if you scroll and go back to my post and scroll to the bottom, these are some recommendations. And so you can check this out. I go through which of the sites. In addition, I take you through CopyLeaks and a few others. Not all of these are totally free and maybe limited. So like to the first 1,000 or 1,500 words. So take that in mind. Again, Turnitin is available. So I recommend you use that, just with the caveat that you create a dummy example inside of a Canvas assignment. Now, if you're wondering about some other ways to deal with AI and you don't want to get into so-called policing and checking every single text you get in your class, here are some other tips that I found useful. If you see repetition of phrases in a particular entry, a discussion post, if you see lack of coherence or inconsistency in the text, unusual word choices and grammatical structures. As an example, one AI text I found was constantly using such, with such culture. And I was just saying to a friend, like, we never say that at least in most forms of English I know in the United States. We don't use such. It just sounds very formal. Maybe in European use of English, it's a bit different. So things like that could be a bit of a red flag in terms of knowing that there could be AI content. Unusual word choices, limited ability to understand context and intent of the text. So if things are incoherent or certain things don't mesh together, that could be indication that AI wrote it. Lack of personal style or voice. And this last one is really a great tip I offer to you to let students know that you can ask them to write in a certain way that hopefully will eliminate that temptation that probably everybody has, myself included, to use AI for things that we don't necessarily want to do. So what I'm going to show you here is in my cultural anthro class, because AI was becoming more and more of an issue, I discovered that I needed to really prompt my students and let them know that, it's not great to use AI. And so I'm really kind of warning them about this. So this is kind of a warning, put everything in your own words. I have a second announcement, and this might actually be in my discussion board. Let me try to find it here. Okay, so yeah, it's in my week 2 discussion instructions. So I put this in there because I just was thinking like this AI content is coming and it's here in my class. And I started to read discussion posts and they read like encyclopedia articles. So this isn't necessarily just about AI. It's just about like what kind of conversations you want to frame in your discussion boards in your online classes, or, other classes you're teaching. Work on Zoom could even fall into this if you have students doing collaborative work. So what I said is these are things to avoid in discussions: lists, definitions, direct quotations, AI content, some things to focus on: reactions to our videos, readings, comments to my posts or your peers' posts, direct experience. And this is where direct experience and I statements do two things. They personalize your class. Again, this is how I teach it. And they really avoid AI, because AI does not do a great job writing in first person or using direct experience, because it's not directly experiencing the world. Even though it's learning in a generative sense, it's not learning in the same ways that we learn. Someday when it does learn like us and it could fully replicate our minds and our discourse and our conversations, we'll have to see what happens, because those could be scary times indeed. Conversations: pretend you're at a bar or coffee shop talking informally with others. and chatty and fun back and forth conversation. So these are some tips for you. You could, if you want, I can send this text to you and you can put that in your class as far as trying to get students to not rely on AI or use AI as a shortcut in your class conversations. So my other recommendation to you here in closing on our discussion today is to talk to your students early on, have conversations about AI, do a video about it, share some of the resources with your students. By the way, you can go right now to Canvas Commons and at any time search for the keyword LTCC, and you're going to find all these resources that I've created, and hit that in Canvas Commons on the search bar. You'll find all these, and very recently I made one that is specifically focusing on AI, and for some reason it's not popping up. Let me see here. It was on that last page. I also put it as part of the suites, the student suites in Canvas. Let me just go back one more time because I saw it actually on the first go here, and for some reason the LTCC keyword didn't use. So it's AI, Tech, and our class. This is just a one-page informational thing about AI, and it talks about the policy, and it gives some background on it. It talks about the pros and the cons, and then it tells you 10 student tips on AI and ChatGPT. So I think this could be useful for you to share with your students. Again, all you have to do is go to Canvas Commons, search for this, and then hit copy resource link, or probably more importantly, import or download into your class, and then all that information is available to your students. So hopefully some good tips there for you on talking to your students, having conversations, dealing with academic dishonesty and AI technology as it may relate to your LTCC class. And that will be it today here in this video, talking about engaging your students in the AI, having a critical conversation with them. I really believe philosophically this is one of those issues where it's best to talk to your students instead of just saying nothing and hope that they don't engage with this technology. Believe me, it's everywhere. You turn on the news, you turn on your phone, Facebook, TikTok, everybody is talking about AI. So it's something that I think we definitely need to get ahead of and keep pace with as we think about our challenges here as educators. So thanks for listening, and I'll be back with additional videos in the AI Shorts video series.